Greetings, podcast listeners, and welcome to the episode you've been waiting for of All Things Thor. That's right, the conclusion of becoming an Imagineer. Tom Thordarson's journey into Walt Disney Imagineering and the incredible adventures he had while working on Journey to the Center of the Earth for Tokyo Disney Sea. We want to thank you for being so patient and waiting for this episode to arrive. Hey, sometimes life gets in the way, but we've made sure that we finished the series, so now we can move on to our next adventures. Kurt Schneider here, your host of All Things Thor, and I'm happy to say Tom really nailed it, hit it out of the ballpark, and wrapped this thing up in a way that I think you'll all find fascinating, exciting, and interesting to listen to. So, as I say in every episode, without further ado, I'm going to hand the reins over to Tom and let him finish his story of becoming an Imagineer. Thanks for sticking with us, and we guarantee more exciting stuff is coming sooner than later to All Things Thor.
Well, it's great to be back here, and here's the episode you've all been waiting for. Well, no big deal, but I figured I'd better wrap this up. It's something I've been procrastinating, obviously, because it's painful for me to relive. And some people will say, what the hell? What's your problem? But, I think we all have these experiences in life where you have bad experiences, and to go back and talk about them is difficult. And this one particularly is for me. So anyway, where we last left off, I was at Imagineering, and I was removed from my project, my baby, my project that I conceptualized in the e-ticket ride, Journey to the Center of the Earth, due to the reasons I explained, which were not under my control and that were due to whatever political justification one might try to dig up. Certainly not fair, but the way things work in the big leagues. And so I went on, and I was relocated into another office in 1401 Flower, the headquarters of Walt Disney Imagineering, and I was put in a new office. They moved all my stuff into another office, and so I just kind of went about my thoughts that I can maybe make this work. I thought, okay, I'm going to make the best of this. And so I got moved to this office, and immediately the good part of it was all, any of the vice presidents and such of the various projects that were going on at the time, other than Disney Sea, were actually extremely shocked, first of all, at what happened and couldn't figure it out. And second of all, they were excited that I was available. So I was available to now help on many other things. So I was like, okay, you need to readjust your attitude, Tom. Don't let this get you down. Let's enjoy the fact that you're available now to work on some really cool other things. And there was a lot going on at that time with Animal Kingdom and other things, all kinds of other potential projects. The submarine ride was being reconsidered. The old sub ride was being closed, so I was asked to be on the small handful of people that were trying to figure out what to do with it. And so I was like, oh, you know what? This may not be too bad. Maybe it's a one of those things that's a hidden blessing, you might say. So I went on, and I was right down the hallway from the head of the concept design department. I don't remember what their title was, but they were in charge of talent management. And what was really fun too is that I was in throwing distance of some other Imagineers that were friends of mine, who I really admired. They were great friends and very supportive. And I don't mind naming names. Nina Vaughn, Topper Helmers, and a few others. And, they were highly supportive, and they were great. Brian Jowers. And it was really fun because they would come in and talk to me, and we had great conversations in the hallway, and would critique each other's art and things like that. So I was like, I was continuing to think that this was maybe really, once again, a better thing than somebody throwing me under the bus, and which no question I was thrown under the bus, but I'm thinking, well, maybe this is going to have a better outcome than I anticipated. So as the months went on, I got to work on a lot of different things. I told you that the submarine ride for Anaheim. I won't go into details. I'll go another time. I'll talk about that. But we came up with a fantastic concept for a Atlantis theme. The movie Atlantis was being filmed at the time for Disney, the animated feature. And we came up with this really dramatic, fun attraction that was really spectacular. We got to mock it up in the lagoon there where the subs are, and I was having a really good time. I could not, of course, help but see people on the Disney Seas team working on my ride, and found out that the person who was my assistant was now put into my position by the people who supported throwing me under the bus. And that was hard to take. I have to admit, it was as much as I tried to turn my head away. I mean, we're on the same campus, should you say, the same, Imagineering studios and campus. And you can't help but see what's going on. I couldn't help but see the creatures and the main lava monster that I built, or I designed, being built, and I was aware of all the further completion of the, I don't know how to explain the rest of the ride being readied for final design and installation. And it was painful. It was like watching. It was like having a child that someone takes, and you're from afar. You're seeing them playing in a backyard somewhere else, and it was taken from you unjustly. I mean, it wasn't like I did anything wrong, but this child was taken from me, and I was trying to justify, watching the child be raised by someone else. And it was extremely painful, personally, emotionally, and spiritually. And it definitely wore on me. Matter of fact, as time went, it was really difficult for me to just stay there anymore, to just go to work and go into my office and work. I found myself just wanting to get out of there by 4 or 5 o'clock. I just didn't care. I was starting to lose my faith, and I mean, my magic, my pixie dust, my everything. And I, like I said, I was starting to lose my desire to do what I did all these years in that career that led up to this. And so I got spoken to once or twice by the head of show development, concept development. She said, Tom, people have noticed, that you're leaving a little early every day and blah, blah, blah. And, you need to take note of that. You can't do that. And I didn't say this, but I'm thinking, wouldn't you leave early if you just start to not give a fuck anymore, about these things? You start to really lose when you have something like this taken away from you, and you're just supposed to shut up. And it's like it was a form of abuse. It was like being in a dysfunctional family, and you're getting abused, and you're not supposed to say anything because the rest of the family says, well, we can't say anything about it. We got to let Dad just do what he does, and blah blah blah. I mean, that's really how it felt to me. It felt very, very, very. I felt very violated, and I mean that. I'm telling you that I'm speaking from my heart, and anyone and everyone that knows me knows that that's all I do. I never do anything but speak the truth and from my heart. And that's what I'm doing now. And just sharing with you something I probably wouldn't share or haven't shared with anyone other than a therapist or anything else. And so as the continued weeks and months went on, I did all I could do, with the various projects I was working on. And again, the various senior show producers and VPs and stuff that were working with me on these different projects were very excited with my involvement. And I always thought, like I said, this is what I wanted to do. An Imagineer in my mind wasn't just someone on one project forever. And me particularly, I was a white piece of paper kind of guy, where everyone else was afraid of a blank piece of paper. I thrived on that. I thrived on coming up with ideas out of nothing. And there was other people who were good at taking the ideas into the field, or taking ideas that were already conceptualized and, sitting with those ideas for 3 years until it was an actual attraction. But I just tend to like to move on. I like to come up with something, take it to a certain level of completion, and then move on. So I thought, well, hold it here. Maybe that's actually what I've achieved. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe I've actually, in a weird way, gotten what I wished for. And they're appreciating me for it. They're appreciating the fact that I am a brain who comes up with stuff out of nothing. And that's a talent that, and I could visualize it. I could draw it, I could visualize it, I could paint it, I could describe it, I could write about it. I could even theoretically talk to research and development about how something mechanically might be achieved. I was no engineer, but I could at least bring some discussion to the table, about how things might be done or built. So I thought I was doing okay. And it was very quiet from, no one else wanted to talk about it. Upper management didn't want to talk about what happened to me anymore or anything. And I assumed that they were thinking I was just moving on and accepting the way things worked there. And so things went on. And come close to a year later, comes time for my contract to be renewed. And I get called into the office of the the lady or the person who headed up the concept development department and show design department. And they say to me, can you sit down? And I go, sure. They go, well, your contract is up for renewal, Tom, and I'm not sure, how else to say this to you, but your contract is not going to be renewed. So at the end of this month, you'll be, you're basically, we're done with you. And I'm thinking, well, I'm working with, I said, why? Well, there's just not enough work here, they said, right now and everything. And I said, well, that's not true, because I'm working on like 4 projects at once, right now with different people. And well, but well, this just, this is the decision. And so I was like, this just stinks of something. This, you could just smell a rat. You could smell it was a very political move, and I knew exactly who was responsible for it. The little groupies, particular ones that had just didn't want me there anymore. Not because I couldn't do what I did or contribute something great to the company, but they had their own little feet wiggled down like roots into their objectives and where they wanted to be in the company, and that's how they dealt with things with people. I had learned this before. I suspected this, seeing this happen with other people, but I always kind of put up blinders. I thought, that couldn't be what's happening. There must be more to the story. But when it happens to you, you start to realize the realities. So I said, okay. Well, thank you very much. I've really enjoyed my time here and everything. And I know the first reaction they had was, she goes, oh my God, you took this so well. I can't believe how well you're taking this. And I go, what do you mean? What did you expect me to do? Well, I don't know. You're just, I'm taking it very maturely and well. And I go, well, of course I'm taking it maturely and well. I knew I could see this coming. And I can also see what's going on here beyond what I thought originally was how everything worked. My little fantasy of Walt Disney and the magic still kind of saturated into the cloth of this place. I discovered and have discovered now, isn't what I thought it was going to be. And so I kind of don't want to be here anymore. And so she goes, okay. And then they say to me, Tom, I go, what? I go, yeah. And they'll never forget this, these exact words. I said, Tom, you're a very free spirit. This place isn't for free spirits. And if the person who said this is listening to this podcast, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And they'll know that what they said, how it affected me, and how it affected this Imagineer's life, how it affected my career and my self-esteem and everything. And like I said, well, luckily I wasn't escorted out of the building or anything like past people had. I mean, they trusted my behavior, which tells me even more about the fact that they knew I wasn't at all any kind of threat, or shouldn't be, or any of it. But they said, okay, so next pay period is in a week, so You can come in or you can stay home, and then as long as you have your office cleared out and everything. And my office was so full of stuff. I had an old electric chair that I built that was a lamp that had magazines, like art magazines on it, and I had the 1930s animation desk that was given to me by Marcello Bignali, that he had, who gifted it to me, that was used by many of the famous animators. Beautiful, like honey, what was it, like a poplar, or I can't remember what kind of wood it was, but it was a honey colored, and it was gorgeous, and it was in one corner of my office. And I would use it once in a while when I was sketching, but then I had a big drawing board on the other side. And so all this stuff, some of it stayed, of course, but other things had to be packed up and taken away. So it took me like 3 or 4 days just to get all this stuff packed up. And because I never thought I'd ever leave that place until I was at retirement age. And I was wrong. Anyway, so as time went, of course, many other Imagineers came by to visit me and said they just could not fathom why I was not, or how they could justify in their wildest dreams, having witnessed everything I did, all my work, watching me, seeing me, knowing what I contributed, what the hell was going on, and who made this decision, and what kind of bullshit had happened that threw me into this situation. And I said, I don't know. I cannot answer that question. Now, a couple of them had theories, and they would say, I think I know what happened, but I'll get in the future. We'll get together and I'll tell you about it. And so that's the most they could say. So anyway, and they were right, by the way. They knew exactly what went on. They knew a lot of the dirt that had been circulating that was going to be unjust. And some of them kind of warned me about it, but I didn't listen. I was like, oh, that can't be. People don't do that here. These are all magical people, Anyway, so the time came and I was gone. I was asked, I had my last day and I said goodbye to everybody, and everyone came around and said goodbye. All the executives, several executives, everything. Nobody from the team that I knew was responsible, of course, did. I was told that the person who threw me under the bus, primarily the assistant, her face turned white, quote, her face turned white when she found out that they had actually let me go. And they claimed that they had no idea that what they said would actually have any effect like this. They had no intention of this happening to me. Their little game turned out to be something that became my demise. And I remember the last time I walked out and went to my car, the last trip out to my car at the Walt Disney Imagineering parking lot. I ran into one of the show producers on the project I was on, and who enabled this whole thing to go down this way, which I was surprised. But she was going to back in the building, and I was headed to my car, and I never had any bones to pick with this person. Matter of fact, we had I thought a friendship. I never would imagine this coming from them. But they were very savvy politically. That's probably why they were still there. And I said to them, goodbye. I'm going to miss you. I actually going to miss you. I'm leaving. I'm gone now. And boy, you should have seen the look on their face. I mean, again, their face just went sallow, and they were so shocked, their mouth a little bit agape, and they were so surprised. They couldn't even look me in the eye. They kept tilting their head, to the side. And I went and I gave them a hug. And they were so stiff and uncomfortable. And I was like, wow, that says a lot right there. I'm a big one on intuition. I'm a big one on being real. And you can tell when someone is not. And this was like, a perfect example. When you're like, okay, yeah, I can see all this is definitely adding up, So anyway, time went on, and the funny thing was, and I'll wrap it up with this: the person, several years later, who I was told threw me under the bus, that assistant. We had to work at a similar company together, and because they were no longer at Disney, I was no longer at Disney, and there was opportunity at another entertainment design company. And so, long story short, I knew this was coming, that I was going to have to meet face to face with this person, and I suspected, based on all the other stuff that I had heard from other Imagineers, that these things happened. And so I kind of confronted them with it. I said, I'd like to go to dinner before we work together at this other company, and I need to talk to you about something. And so we did. And I said, I'm willing to forgive all this if this is true, but I need you to be honest with me and tell me what happened. And so this person went ahead to fully 100% admit what they did, that they lied, that they made up and exaggerated and told stories that didn't exist for their own welfare, because they were scared for their own jobs and blah, blah, blah. And they made it up. But they said they didn't have any idea that it was going to actually escalate to that point, that I'd lose my job. They had no idea. They thought it was just I was going to get a warning or a slap on the hand, and I was just going to go, what? What? I can't figure out what's, and then it was just going to kind of pass. But they wanted to look good and, give me some sort of a little sassy punishment, for their own benefit. And they had no idea it was going to work this way. But, that happens. We all have to be really careful when you lie about other people, especially now these days, it's even worse. But when you start making up stories about people, their performance or their character or whatever, the companies are scared themselves. They don't want to take chances anymore. Even if there's a claim that's untrue, they would rather just fire everybody and get the situation out from under their hair. And it's unfair. Of course it's unfair. Just like life, as they say. But so I said to this person, wow. I go, that's what everyone else was telling me, but I couldn't believe you would ever do this. And they apologized. They said, I hope you'll forgive me and we can move on or work together because I enjoyed working with you. And I said, well, vice versa. Okay, let's let bygones be bygones. And and at the time I thought I could let it go. I thought maybe that I had to let things like this go because it was destroying me. It was absolutely ripping me a new gut every night. Dreams and nightmares and shit about this whole thing happening. But when I got to the other company, we worked together, and we actually worked together well, but I never got over this. It was always such a horrible, unfair thing. I knew I should still be at Disney. I knew Walt would have wanted me there for sure. There's no question in my mind. And I knew I made a major contribution to that company with the e-ticket attraction I designed and the many others I could have designed. But I got effed. And I'm not saying that for people to feel sorry for me at all. I'm saying this because I want it to be said so that other people aspiring to careers like this or similar know that these things happen. And it's nothing that you do. It's just the luck of the draw, or the way, maybe it's the way it's meant to be. If you're a religious person, you say, well, I guess God had other plans. If you're otherwise, this was just the trajectory of the universe, I don't know why, but, and it hurts like hell, but this is just the way it's meant to be. And life goes on, right? My experiences there were tremendous. The people I met were the most talented I have ever met, ever, in anywhere. Most talented and wonderful people I have met in my career. Equally, some of the most manipulative and what do I want to say? What's the word for it? People whose talent is knowing how to ride the system, and they're very smug about it, and they support each other who are equally like that. So you have these sort of situations where it's really hard to overcome when you got little groups like that do those things and get themselves into more powerful positions. Most of the creative people, they just want to do great stuff. They just want to do the best, most creative things that they can come up with, and we all stick together as artists, and many of us do it for Walt, at least I did. I imagine that to be the case. And, still, like I still pass that building once in a while off the 5 freeway. And I think to myself, I did make a great contribution to the company. I think Walt is very proud of what I did. And that nobody can take away from me, because it's an attraction, Journey to the Center of the Earth, that's been running in Tokyo and Tokyo Disney Seas, which I still think is probably the best theme park the company has ever created. And many will agree with that. And I'm proud of that. Nobody's going to take that away from me. Now, at this point in my career, I'm willing to let it all go. It still hurts. I still have nightmares about it all. I'm still seeking therapy to try to to deal with it, because, it's just, I don't know. If any of you had the same experience, I'm sure you'd feel the same way I did. Especially someone who's very passionate about their work. Well, that's about it. I kind of gave you my gut-wrenching true encounter of what happened to me. But again, I want to say, I want to try to leave it on a positive note, believe it or not, and say to some of you who are younger or new to the entertainment industry, the theme park industry, just know that this stuff exists. And if it happens to you, know that it's not always or seldom you that's responsible for it. You can beat yourself up, but you got to know that in this industry, there's a tremendous amount of politics and egos. And I happen to be a sensitive person, you know. Maybe that person was right who told me that, you know, I was not meant for this industry because I'm a free spirit. I think free spirit was their way of saying, you know, I'm a little naive by being such a, you know, about not being more political and savvy in those areas. But I don't think that's always the case. And I hope it's not the case now. I mean, everywhere at Disney. But just prepare yourself for these things. I mean, recognize things coming. Be careful with relationships and things, business relationships in the company, and do your best. Focus on your work, but know that equally there are people who are focusing on not just harvesting their talent as creatives, but harvesting their talent as those who can manipulate the system. And it exists not just there, but in many corporate situations, especially out in this direction, probably on the West Coast and the East Coast, I'm guessing. Anyway, I look forward to a lot more, much more exciting podcasts coming up. I've got some really amazing talent that are excited about being part of this and are supporting me. And we're going to have interviews and talk about fun stuff. And then we're going to be going video pretty soon. So Kurt Snyder and my incredible sidekick, who has supported this so much, is helping. And I apologize it's taken me so long to do this final episode of Becoming an Imagineer. But many exciting things to come, and I hope you all continue to support me and listen to me. I've got some really good stories for you, and I hope you stay in touch. Thank you.